All right, today we're diving into a really foundational document, the Constitution of the Cherokee Nation. Now, this isn't just some dry set of rules. Think of it more like the blueprint for a sovereign government. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what makes it tick. So, before we even get into the text, we're met with this really powerful symbol, the Great Seal of the Cherokee Nation. Right in the middle, you see that 7-pointed star? Each point represents one of the 7 ancient clans of the Cherokee people, and it's all surrounded by an oak wreath. You know, this isn't just a logo, it's a bold statement. It's about identity, deep history, and sovereignty, all wrapped up in one image. And that whole idea of continuity, it's captured perfectly in this quote from Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. He says the Constitution is a vital link in an unbroken chain of governing law. I mean, think about that. He's not saying this is where it all started. He's saying it's the latest step in a tradition of self-governance that goes back forever. So right away, we know we're not just looking at a historical artifact, but a living, breathing document.
Okay, so with that foundation in place, let's get into the blueprint itself. What is this Constitution actually designed to do? Well, lucky for us, it spells it out right at the very beginning.
The preamble, it's short, but it's incredibly powerful. It lays out 3 crystal-clear goals: preserve sovereignty, enrich culture, and secure freedom. And these aren't just, nice-sounding words. They're the guiding principles for everything else in the document. Basically, you've got self-governance, cultural heritage, and personal liberty. Those are the 3 pillars holding up the entire nation. Okay, so let's see how the Constitution actually builds on those 3 pillars. The very first articles get right to the heart of it all, defining what it means to be a nation, and just as importantly, what it means to be a citizen. Article 1 pulls no punches. It says flat out that the Cherokee Nation reaffirms its sovereignty. And that word, reaffirms, is key. This isn't a power being granted by someone else. The Constitution is saying this sovereignty is inherent. It's always been there. It also does something really smart. It defines its relationship with the United States as a distinct government-to-government partnership. Okay, so that's the nation's power. But what about the rights of the individual citizens? Well, Article 3 covers that with a comprehensive Bill of Rights. We're talking about guarantees like equal protection, due process, the right to a jury trial, the big ones. Plus, freedoms of religion, speech, and the press, and the right to peaceably assemble. These are the absolute bedrock protections for a just and open society under Cherokee law. So how does the government actually work? Well, the Constitution sets up a structure that might look pretty familiar, but it's got its own unique Cherokee characteristics. We're talking about a government split into 3 distinct branches. Why? For that all-important system of checks and balances. Let's break it down real quick. You've got the legislative branch, that's the council, made up of 17 members, and their job is to make the laws. Then there's the executive branch, led by the principal chief who enforces those laws. And finally, the judicial branch, with a 5-justice Supreme Court, is there to interpret the law. See? It's a really clear separation of powers, all designed to keep things stable and hold everyone accountable. But here's a really crucial point. The ultimate power in the Cherokee Nation doesn't actually lie with any of those 3 branches. Nope, it rests with the citizens. So let's take a look at how the Constitution defines who a citizen is and how it puts power directly into their hands. So who gets to be a citizen? Article V is super specific about this. It all comes down to a key historical document, the Dawes Commission Rolls. Basically, these were tribal membership lists put together by the U.S. government way back between 1898 and 1914. So to be a citizen of the Cherokee Nation today, you have to be able to trace your family line directly back to an ancestor who was on those original rolls. And the Constitution makes a really important distinction here. See, being an enrolled citizen is one thing, but if you want to actually vote in elections, that's a separate step. You have to actively register to vote. It's a 2-part process, which keeps the idea of citizenship identity separate from electoral participation. Now, the power of the people goes way beyond just casting a ballot for a representative. This is where things get really cool. The Constitution includes some powerful tools for direct democracy, which means citizens can literally bypass the government and take action themselves. Take accountability, for example. Let's say the citizens are really unhappy with the principal chief. Well, they don't have to just wait around for the next election. If they can get a petition signed by just 15% of voters, boom, that's enough to trigger a special recall election. I mean, that is a massive check on the executive branch. And it doesn't stop there. It goes even further. What if the people want a new law, but the council won't pass it?
If they can gather signatures from just 10% of voters, they can propose their own law through something called the initiative process. It goes straight to a direct vote by the people. This really, truly puts the power to make laws directly in the hands of the citizens.
All right, and this brings us to what might be the most crucial part of this whole thing. This Constitution was never meant to be a relic, something that just gets stuck in time. It was built from the ground up to evolve. It's a living, adaptable framework for the future.
So, how does it actually change? Well, there are two ways to propose an amendment. The council can do it, or the people can do it directly with a petition signed by 15% of voters. But here's the most important part. No matter who proposes the change, the final step is always the same. It has to be ratified. A majority of the people have to vote yes in an election. This makes sure that the ultimate power to change the Constitution always stays with the citizens. So, what this all means is that this built-in ability to change ensures the Constitution can tackle new challenges and actually reflect the evolving will of the Cherokee people. It's a framework that wasn't just designed for the here and now, but for generations down the road, guaranteeing that it stays relevant long into the future. When you really look at it, the Cherokee Nation Constitution is just a fascinating study in balance. On one hand, it's so deeply rooted in history, sovereignty, and culture. But at the same time, it creates this incredibly dynamic, democratic system that's ready for whatever the future holds. It really leaves you with a big question to chew on. How can a nation's most basic law honor a past that's time immemorial, while also building a flexible framework for a future we can't even imagine yet?